Good morning, YouTube beauties. I hope you had a restful night. I had a restful night. For the past few mornings, I was like, I can't get out of bed. I think it's because I've been here way too long and I've been job hunting, and I'm like, Lord, why am I still here? It's time to go. It's time to go. I'm ready to go. But you know what? I always got to remember, like, sometimes God closes a door so another one could be open. So I always got to stay positive. And it's frustrating because my entire adult life, all I ever wanted was a career. That's all I ever wanted. It was a decent job so I can get the fuck out the projects. But it's taking forever. And then the apartments that were offered to me, they were smaller than what I have now. So I turned it down. But I guess in God's timing, I try not to question it. My good days outweigh my bad. I won't complain. Today I wanted to talk about, I have so many stories, and I'm like, let me just talk about it all because it happened 10 plus years ago. Why not? Right? Story time. So this story time is about a compulsive liar. And he actually, I want to say he's the first guy that I fell really hard for, and we didn't have sex. And the reason why I did not have sex with him is because he was asking for it way too much. And also I didn't trust him because he was a compulsive fucking liar, right? So, back to what I was saying from my last video. I was talking about the psycho guy. He never wanted to do anything. I pushed it, but he was just falling for me way too fast, whatever. But this one is about a compulsive liar, and he used to gaslight me, all of that. So picture it, Manhattan, 2010. I'm at this party with my old coworker, and he said it was his cousin, but come to find out it was his friend. So I'm at this party, and it was my old coworker. It was her party. So she invited her ex-boyfriend, and the ex-boyfriend brought this guy that I used to date. We never made it official, but I fell for him. We spent time together. He had an image. He portrayed himself a certain way and was not that. So, we dancing, we drinking. I noticed he was drinking a little bit too much, and he gave me alcoholic vibes. So, I don't like that in a man. So at first, he was very handsome, tall. First of all, I love me a tall man because I could wear heels and I don't have to wear flats. I just love being in my femininity, and he was so masculine. He he was tall, he was light skinned, he had a nice body. He was perfect. He was just perfect. He was educated. Literally, I'm 34 years old. He was the smartest man that I ever spoken to. He was just so brilliant. And we used to make out for hours, and he was offended. He was like, oh, I give him, what they call blue balls. He's like, oh, and I can't get none. I'm like, you keep asking for it. You're like a little kid in a candy store. The answer is no. Don't put your hands on it either. I said now. But so we go on our date, the first date. So his friend is like, oh, Ivan wants you. He said he wants you. Can I give him your number? I said, yeah. At first I was skeptical. And in all my stories, ladies, I had a gut feeling about something and I did not listen to it. That's my problem, and I'm working on it. I'm really working on it. Most of the time, sometimes I do listen, and then other times I don't. In my last story, I actually did listen and I kept my distance, but I still was entertaining him. So that was the lesson. Stop entertaining motherfuckers, But with this guy, I liked him. I liked everything about him. Like he did it for me. I had like a little gut feeling something was up, but whatever. So we go on our date, and he's the perfect gentleman, right? He pays for everything. He, the first red flag though is he was complaining about my outfit. I said, what's wrong with what I got on? He's like, oh. So basically, ladies, sometimes when you meet a man, I met him in the club. I had on heels, I had on tight jeans, and a corset. So in his mind, he thought that I dressed like that all the time. I said, sir, you said we was going to a regular schmegula restaurant. I asked you what type of restaurant we going to because I'm not wearing heels to a chain restaurant. No offense, but we went to like a chain restaurant. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't fancy. And then we went to the movies. So you think I'm really going to wear a corset with my breast out in the movie theater? Like, I'm not that type of girl, sir. So I had on jeans and a long sleeve shirt and sneakers. And I guess he was offended by that. He was like, why you ain't dressed up? I said, why you ain't dressed up? So that's a red flag, lady. Like he was Ken. He had the Ken mentality and he wanted me to be Barbie. Well, nigga, I don't, and then, and my hair was in a ponytail. He was like, but when I met you in the club, I said, okay, but I still got the same face because I don't wear, even back then, I never wore makeup. I didn't start wearing makeup till 2013. So I'm like, okay, it's the same hair. It's just a different style. It's the same face, just a different outfit. So you really thought I was gonna wear heels on this date? Like you got another thing coming. But that was a first red flag because he was very critical. Okay, boom. So he was like really criticizing. We walking past the retail windows. He's like, oh, you should dress like this. You should. I'm like, boy, stop. Boy, stop. Whatever. So, at first I wasn't, by the end of the night, he's like, oh, so do I get a second date? And I'm like, maybe. So it ended like a movie. The end of the date was like, we was like tonguing each other down. We made out, whatever. So the second date now, I don't remember where we went, but after the second date, I paid. Another red flag, ladies. If his money is low, but he claims to, at this time, this is a recession, I'm unemployed, and he had me paying for dates. The first date he paid, but the second date, all the way until whatever date I was paying, then he had a nerve to borrow money from me. The first time I was like, oh, it's $20, you ain't gotta pay it back. And then the second time I was like trying to see where his head was. I was like, yo, this is money from, because I didn't have my own savings account, but I opened a savings for my son. And so I was telling him, I'm like, yo, this money is coming out of my son's savings. You're gonna have to pay me back. He goes, oh, it's only $25. I said, so why you asking me? Red flag number 2. Like, he was getting mad I'm telling him, like, yo, this is the second time you asked me for money, and I'm telling you I need my money back. Like, So basically, also, he said he had a car. Every time we went out, we took the train. He said he had his own place, and he always said how, his mom was at his crib. He invited me over, but I told him I don't feel comfortable because I don't want to end up, I knew he was very attractive, and I knew if I went over there, I would end up doing something I regret. I wasn't ready to do nothing with him because the lies were coming up, So to the juicy part. So finally, months go by. This is like, oh yeah, another thing that he used to do. He used to not call me for days at a time, and I would be calling him. And his answer was always, oh, I'm busy at work. I'm busy. My phone didn't. Like, he always had an excuse as to why he wasn't picking up the phone. And I feel like he was doing that as like a trick to see, Yeah. I'm back. Okay. So, where was I? So, yes, he was a compulsive liar. He lied about having a car. We always took the train. He lied about having his own place. Um, his mother wasn't spending the night. She lived there. And so time goes on. Oh yeah, we would be chilling, and then he would just stop talking to me. So the first time I remember him stopped talking to me, I was missing him. So the same friend that we had, mutual friend, I knew him from work. This was his homeboy. He had a party, so I decided to attend, and he was there. And my friend was drunk, and he carried her. So we on the phone, and he's like, well, how are you gonna repay me? And I'm like, I'm not sleeping with you. Like, we could hang out or whatever. So we hang out, and he appreciated it. He was like, oh, if it's my birthday, because it was tax time. So I was just splurging on him or whatever. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me, but I got him whatever he wanted to eat, popcorn, whatever I got for him. And I'm observing this, and now I'm starting to get turned off, because I'm like, you have a job. I still didn't have a job, but I had unemployment and tax money. And you just, now it's like, okay, you're using me, you know? So I found out, so then this girl, I'll never forget her name because it sounds so fictitious. The name was Natalie Smith, and she messages me, and she's like, do you know Ivan Jones? And I'm like, yes, I do. Can I help you? She's like, well, I'm his girlfriend, and I seen your number in his phone. I said, well, ma'am, you have nothing to worry about, because I had never slept with him. I took him out a few times, and I gave him some money. He ain't paying me back. Tell him to pay me back, by the way. And he's like, oh, so he's using you for money? I said, well, frankly, he's the bum at the end of the day, because think about it, like, you, at the end of the day, I'm paying for everything. Who looks like the bum? He does. So it's like, I'd rather get used for money than sex. I said, I'm not having sex with him, that's for sure. Like, he wanted to have sex with me, just to let you know. So you should be coming at him and not me. It's like, why did you even contact me? And that's another thing I don't understand about females. Like, if you looking at messages between your man and a woman, ask yourself, how did that happen? You know what I'm saying? Why are you calling the other woman? We don't give a fuck. I don't care about you or him. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, I cared about him. But it's like, you look stupid. So his boy, I was like, because his boy, he had the oddest name. His name was Uwala. And I was like, yo, Uwala, because me and Uwala used to work together. And I actually dated a co-worker, and he knew what I went through in my previous relationship. So why would you hook me up with somebody you know is a dog? You know what I'm saying? I said that to you. I was like, yo, Uwala, like, why would you hook me up with him knowing that he's a dog? So you know what he said? He was like, nah, Crystal, that ain't his girl. That ain't his girl. I said, okay, so how did she get my number? He says, and I was so dumb for believing this lie. Another thing, ladies, men are gonna always have each other's back. They're always gonna have each other back. That was his homeboy. And I didn't think, oh, he gonna lie for him, because I was like, yo, he knew what I went through in my previous relationship. I don't think I'm gonna talk about that one, but but he knew what I went through. My little heart got broken and everything, and that was a lesson to me that if you want to date somebody at work, don't tell nobody. That's another story for another day. That I may never talk about that one because it was so embarrassing. But yeah, so Uwala knew what I went through. And so you're going to hook me up with a player? I was like, Uwala, be honest. He's like, I'm being honest. He don't want her. They had something going on, but that's not his girl. I said, so how did she get my number? Oh, she works for Sprint. So I believe it, because I'm like, okay, it's a believable story. I'm 21 at this time. I knew little things about men, but I didn't really think on it. I was like, okay, maybe she is crazy. Because you do have chicks that they feel like if they having sex with a dude, that's their man. I actually know females like that. I know females that have 3-4 kids with a man, if when you ask them, did he ever ask you to be his girl, they'll tell you no. So therefore, you're not his girlfriend. You just assume because y'all live together and have children together, that does not mean that y'all are in a relationship. That's another story for another day. But, so, yeah, so I'm believing it. And so I asked Ivan, and I'm like, Ivan, what's up with you and this girl? Like, why is she? He's like, yo, that's not my girl. She crazy. He's like, straight up. He said it like, yo, that's not my girl. How she get my number? I don't know, man. I don't know. So I believe it. And Uwala was like, yo, she worked for Sprint. And then I didn't think about it at the time, but the fact that Uwala said she worked for Sprint and not Ivan, Ivan is the one who messed around with her. So I didn't peep that back then. But when I think about it, I'm like, Ivan should have been the one to say, yo, she worked for Sprint, right? Uwala, the one I was not dating, talking to, he's the one that said that about her. How does he know she worked for Sprint and not Ivan? So that's how you know it was a lie. Because Ivan should have been the one to say, X, Y, and Z, not I don't know. So very simple, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I was stupid because at the time I wanted to believe it. It was believable because you do have crazy chicks out here that are delusional. And I'm thinking, well, maybe he slept with her and left his phone in her bed and just was whatever. I'm thinking it's like a Joanne, that white girl who was with the Mormon. I'm thinking it's a situation like that, like somebody he messing with. And I couldn't be mad because I knew I wasn't giving it up to him. We didn't have any oral sex, nothing. So I wasn't upset at all that he was sleeping around on me because we weren't together. And I understood that he had needs. And he said that. He's like, well, we're not having sex, Crystal, and I do have needs. And I'm like, I was fine with it, I was on my celibacy journey. I'm like, and I didn't trust it. I told him straight up, like, I don't trust you. It's not even that we not together. It's I don't trust you. So, yeah, so we continue to go out. I'm continuing to pay. And she also told me some information. She said, Uwala and him are not cousins. They are friends. He confirmed that. I said, well, why are y'all lying? Whatever. Then she said, he's older than what he say he is. He told me he was 25. She's like, no, he's 30, 32, 30. So he was much older than what he said. Not much older, but he was older. He lived at home because I told her the whole scenario. She's like, no, his mother do not spend the night with him. That's his mother's house. I'm like, wow. And he invited me over so many times too. And yeah, so when I brought this information to him, he goes, oh, so you're gonna look at me different now? So now I'm not, I said yes, because you lied about everything. Who are you? Is your name even Ivan Jones? Like, you know what I'm saying? That don't even sound like a real name either, So I don't talk to him for a couple of weeks, months maybe. And so the final straw with me was I finally get my apartment. This is 2012. And he's like, oh, let's go to the park. I'm like, I'm not going with you nowhere to some park. What are you going to try to get me robbed? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even back then, I was like, what? So evidently there's like a park on Supton Boulevard. He was from Queens. So he's like, oh, let's go to the park on Supton Boulevard. I said, I don't do parks at night. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? You trying to, like, no. And then I explained to him, I said, I just can't up and see you like before when I was living with my parents. I don't live with them anymore. So I have to give them a heads up. You can't just hit me up and say, let's go somewhere. Like, I don't live with them no more. I explained to him all of that. The next week, he's like, he going away. So I'm like, okay. And then he's like, oh, I didn't go away. I said, why? He's like, he forgot his ID. Then the next day, he forgot something else. I said, at that point, I'm like, Ivan, I'm done. You keep lying about stupid stuff, and I can't trust you as far as I could throw you. It just got too much when he was just, now you're lying about your whereabouts and where you going. I got fed up. And I remember deleting his number, and I didn't feel no type of way. And it took time because I really did care for him. But he was a compulsive liar. And my gut feeling of when I first met him in the club was he gave me alcoholic vibes and player vibes. Like when you look at him, it's like, yeah, he's a player. He's a player. So I'm happy I never gave him my body. And I'm happy that we were never together because he would have wasted my time. And he did disappoint me, but I'm alright. And that's my story for my compulsive liar story. I have a few compulsive liars that I encountered, but that was like the one that like stuck out to me. And that's my story. Those are my thoughts.